Hey, what's up? Welcome to our weekly live show where I teach you one thing you can do to grow your online business. This week, I'm going to show you how to get 500 hot leads to sell your stuff to. If you're running a coaching business, course business, whatever you sell, I'm going to show you how to get 500 hot leads this month with a strategy that we didn't invent. We named it, called BOPA. I'll walk you through what that means, what it stands for, and how to use it in the next 30 days. As a way of introduction, my name is Brian Harris. I'm the owner of Growth Tools. We are a coaching company. Our job, our mission is to make it almost impossible for you to fail at growing your business. So that's what we do. One fun fact. I always like to start with one fun fact about myself. So I'm going to share a fun fact, then you share a fun fact. Two things you can share in chat while I'm sharing mine. Share one fun fact, one thing people might not know about you, and how many Shop Talk episodes you've been to. So if it's one, this is your first one, great, put one in the chat. If it's 15, put 15 in chat. I don't know if we've done 15 actually, but one fun fact about yourself and how many Shop Talk episodes you've actually been to. All right, random fun fact about myself. I once woke up on 4th of July morning, realized I had no plans, so I got in my kayak and kayaked 35 miles upriver to my parents' house. And by the time I got there, my hands were completely locked around my paddles, and my dad, I'm a 24-year-old person at this point, had to pick me up out of the kayak and actually get me onto shore because I actually couldn't walk at all. I'm also going to introduce today my co-host for today, Mr. Ben Dahl, Director of Marketing at Growth Tools. He'll be talking and sharing some of us to go through some of this marketing strategy today. Ben, welcome. Share one fun fact about yourself.
Paddling that far upstream is a horrible decision. I can't believe you did that.
It was like technically about 2/3 upstream, then the last third, I guess that was technically upstream because it was kind of sideways, but it was up through the little river system.
Oh my goodness.
It was incredibly challenging.
Okay, well, one fun fact for me is I whitewater rafted downstream in West Virginia on their Class 5 rapids, and that was super awesome.
If you've ever whitewater rafted upstream, that would be incredibly incredibly impressive. Grant, fun fact, I used to teach ballroom dance lessons. Grant's a good friend of mine, and he is in chat having a good time. Kelsey said, help save the wild prairie chicken from extinction by chainsawing invasive trees in prairie land. You win today, Kelsey. That is as niche as you get. Matt, I've been to 6 Shop Talks now. Very cool. Jeremy G, random fun fact, I've written 6 books and this is the first Shop Talk. Very cool. I can clap with one hand. Wow. 5+ Shop Talks. Let's see. Hello. All right. So as y'all come in, be sure to share one fun fact about yourself and how many Shop Talk episodes you've actually been to. I'm going to jump in now. 2 things before we jump in. Number 1, be sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get notifications when we go live. We just hired someone as an intern to help out. So we're going to be a lot more things that we're experimenting with on the YouTube channel. Me and Ben had some interesting conversations the last week about some things we could do to maybe promote and grow the channel. We'll share some of those, maybe some off-air Shop Talk episodes as we go along. So be sure to like and subscribe. Also, before we get into the meat of the episode today, if you aren't going to be able to stay here the entire time, if you want to get the resources for today's episode, the recording, the slides, some scripts and different spreadsheets we're going to share today, make sure you're a Shop Talk VIP. You can text 615-903-8108, text VIP to that, or pull out your phone, open your camera app, hit it on the little QR code, and it'll just text it automatically. Ben's making fun of me because I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to find this stupid QR code to work. So some people need to scan the QR code today. We're going to run a test. We'll put this in a which test one test. That'll be a cool way to do this, Ben. We've had the same slide for 15 or 20 episodes of Shop Talk, and it's just the text slide. This week, we simplified the slide and put the little scan me thing to make it easy for people. So we'll do a which test one on this in a few weeks and share the results. Which one worked better, just having text and the number and the word to text, or having the scan thing? That'll be a fun which test one. For those of y'all that are your first episode, at the end of every episode, we always share one test, one marketing test that we've run. Like for last week, we spent $10,000 on 2 different ads, and we shared which one won. One won by 30%, had 30% more clicks on it than the other one. So in a couple weeks, we'll share the results of this specific test. So we'll run it a few weeks and see what happens with it. So if you're not a VIP already, make sure you're a VIP. It's free. What you get with that is all of our marketing tests that we do. You get the recordings of each episode and all the resources that we share. So if you're not able to stay for the whole thing, or you want to reference it later, become a VIP. We text you the next morning with the resources, the recordings, and all that stuff as we go. So thanks for being here. The topic of today's workshop is how to get 500 hot coaching leads this month. I'm going to show you specifically how to get companies to promote you to their audience without paying them, without spending money on ads. I'm going to walk through the process for that. Now, each episode before we get into the meat of the workshop, I want to make sure you leave with just one really specific thing you can do to grow your business. We do 3 things on the episode. First, I give you a book recommendation. Second, I teach you a workshop. And number 3, I give you one test that we've run in the past week that you can use and directly copy into your business. So first of all, the book. I read this book last week. It is fantastic. It's called Stop Guessing by Nat Green. You can get it on Amazon for $19.95. So everybody can go there and grab a copy right now if you want to. For one person that shares Shop Talk with a friend right now, we're just going to Amazon you a copy today. So if you want a copy of Stop Guessing, we're going to pick one person in chat right now and send you a copy of the book. Just share a copy with a friend. Just grab a link to this YouTube episode, text it to a friend, email it to a friend, tweet it out, Facebook it out. And put shared in chat, type shared in chat. We'll grab one person and send you a copy of the book. So do that right now. I'm going to share one takeaway from this book with you. So I realized this. I was telling Ben this the other day. I realized that no one has ever taught me problem solving. Now, all of us, I would say I'm not a terrible problem solver. I would say I'm actually a pretty good problem solver. But I've never read a book on it. I've never been taught it. It was never a thing we went over in school. In fact, there was one problem solving method in math class called guess, tests, and revise. Where you literally just guessed the solution, you tested it, and you went back and repeated the cycle until you were solving it. So that was maybe the most specific problem solving method I've ever been taught before. By the way, thanks everybody for sharing the episode. So takeaway number 1 was nobody's ever taught me that. And probably the biggest, I don't know, one of my favorite things I underlined in the book as I was reading it was this idea that there are utterly simple solutions are available to 100% of problems if you take the time to find the root cause of the problem. If you don't solve the symptom, but solve the root problem, usually the solutions are extremely simple. Here's an example he gave in the book. He does a lot of consulting and problem solving in big manufacturing scenarios like warehouses and factories and that kind of thing. So there are these incredibly complicated warehouses or conveyor systems and all this stuff. Anyway, he gave this example of this toilet tissue wrapping machine that this company has. So all the rolls of toilet paper come in and they wrap them up, and I guess that's what you get when you go buy them from the grocery store. But they had innovated and came up with another way to doing that. With basically, well, that's too much information. Basically, the machine started breaking, and they couldn't figure out why. So they hired more people. They were going to shut the whole factory down and bring in a new machine, and like all those things were just incredibly expensive. They'd have to tear the whole line apart, roll this thing in. And none of this would work. So they brought Nat in. He spent a week just observing the problem, asking the people that knew about it, watching the machine, seeing when it hung up. After a week of looking at it, they had spent a year trying to fix this problem. They were about to spend tens of millions of dollars to bring in new machines. After Nat applied the problem-solving framework that he teaches in this book, he discovered there was a loose bolt in this one particular part of the machine that when you ran the machine at a high speed would start poking out the side of it and snag the wrapping paper and make the whole thing break. So after he found the root cause that a bunch of smart people had tried to find but didn't find until they used his problem-solving framework, he just went in, grabbed the bolt, took it out, and the machine worked perfectly fine at double the speed they typically run it at, which solved all their problems. The solution cost $0. It was removing one bolt. Really cool problem-solving framework. We've used this internally last week, and we'd had one particular segment of our client base that just weren't getting the results we thought they should have gotten. And we've been throwing solutions at that for a couple of months. None of them have really worked in a way that we can measure so far. This past week, we ran the problem-solving framework he teaches. I think it's in chapter, I don't know, one of the last chapters of the book. Flipping through the book right now. Chapter 10. Chapter 10 of the book is called Choose Your Method. He teaches his exact framework for doing it. We applied it, and we discovered, and we've been working on this for a long time. We're fairly smart people. We know our systems well. We hadn't found the root cause until we knew to look for a root cause due to the book. And we found that we simply weren't prescribing enough action items to that group of clients. They needed to do 20 action items a week. We were only holding them accountable for doing 3. So literally this week, we went in and made one small change to the software component of assigning action items to client, and we changed it from 3 to 20, and now people are getting results. That was the solution. After months of throwing things at it, we discovered we literally just weren't giving them enough stuff to do. We start giving them enough stuff to do, and now results are happening. So go grab the book. Really cool book for finding utterly simple solutions to really persistently hard problems to solve. Stop Guessing: The 9 Behaviors of Great Problem Solvers. All right. Ben, have you read it at all yet?
Yeah. I kind of skimmed through it. I haven't read it in depth, but I've done the the framework that we went through in the back of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I would basically call it the IDS from Traction on steroids. Like it's so much more guided. I think you find the root cause way faster. So
Yeah, we did it on a sales and market or a sales thing on Friday with show up rates and stuff, or
yeah,
the pitch to close rate. We ran that through the whole process. Anyway, this is way in the weeds. All right, Ben, do we have a winner?
we do. Brooks Elms knows us too well. Shared the link before we even asked, and shared it twice. So Brooks is our winner this week.
Special credit for doing it, for being at Shop Talk before, knowing the game, and winning the game. Brooks, Ben, why don't you give her instructions on what she needs to do to win? Although she probably already knows if she's been here a bunch.
Yeah, Brooks, go ahead and email book winner in your subject line to vip@growthtools.com. Make sure to include your mailing address, and we'll get that sent out to you.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump into workshop time now. I'm gonna teach you how to get 500 hot leads to your coaching program, or if you sell another product, you can use it for that as well. In the next 30 days or so. So rewind to 7 years ago. I'm laying in the bed at my mother-in-law's little cabin she has. They've had it in their family for years. Old like cinder block cabin. And it's in the middle of the summer. It's in Alabama. It's 97 degrees and 1,000% humidity. And I'm laying on the bed because I'm tired. We've been out all day doing stuff. And there's this little AC unit kind of to my left right here that's just working its little heart out. And it's barely keeping the little 12 by 12 room cool. And my stomach is in knots. This business that I was just gung-ho about wasn't working. I was on the verge of quitting my job. I'd poured my heart. I'd bought a course from a guru that teaches you how to grow a business. Done everything they had said, executed to the best of my ability. It just wasn't. I'd built this little course called the Bootstrapper's Guide to Making Explainer Videos. My first online course I'd ever made. And I built it. I put all my effort into it. I launched it. And outside of my friends and family, no one had bought it. I'd sold half dozen copies of it at $27. No action at all. I told a bunch of people about it. This was 9 years ago, and it was really hard to make courses. The LMS software is like Teachable, and all these things didn't exist. It was extremely difficult. But I decided I'm gonna go down swinging. I'm gonna do everything I can find to do to make this thing work. I'm gonna find every little tactic, every little strategy that exists. I'm gonna test them all, and if nothing else, I will know what doesn't work as a result. A couple days later, I got an email from the guy I'd bought that course from, Noah Kagan. I'm share the right slide here. I got an email from him that asked me to teach his audience how I had grown my email list. Through all the different experimentation that I'd done over the course of the previous 6 or 7 months, I'd cobbled together an email list of a couple hundred subscribers. This is like inviting my friends, being engaged in a little Facebook group, and being active. And I don't even know how they joined because it wasn't easy at all. But I got a couple hundred email subscribers. He said, "Hey, Brian, I got a blog." He had a blog called okdork.com, still around. Really good blog. Now really good YouTube channel. And through that process, got a couple hundred email subscribers. And he wanted me to teach his audience how I had done it. Because it had been years since he had started an email list from scratch. I had done it recently. He knew about me because I'd bought his course and had shared what I was doing as I was doing it. He's like, "Hey, could you just write a post teaching them how to do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So a week prior, laying in my mother-in-law's bed, air conditioning going, stomach in knots, had built this thing, had launched it. Nothing had happened. I get an email from Noah, and I write the post. I'd never written a blog post. I don't think I'd ever written a blog post in my life. It might have been the first blog post I've ever written. Maybe I'd written a few on the Video Fruit blog. Doesn't matter. We published the article. He has a list of 10,000 people or so. He emails out the blog post to his list, and this is what happens. In the article, at the very top, it mentioned the product and my website. As a result of Noah publishing that blog post to his list and to his blog, 15,000 people, 15,000 views on the product page basically where I was selling the course, and 331 people bought. Just over $10,000 in revenue as a result of Noah telling his audience about my product. Now, notice what happened there. I didn't have an audience to speak of. I had a couple hundred people. I told all of them about the product. I told my friends about it, my family about it. I emailed the list a time or two about it. A couple people bought, not many. Noah had a gigantic audience. I gave Noah a reason to talk about my product to his audience. All of them found out about it. 15,000 people came to the page and 331 of them bought as a result. Imagine you have your coaching product, your course, your book, your speech, whatever it is you have. What would happen if tomorrow you stood in front of a room of 10,000 people, of 1,000 people, and you explained to them what you do and how you do it. And at the end, you just stood by the door, and as they left, you showed them a copy of your course. You showed them a copy of your book. You just told them about what you have. Like, you would have to really suck for 1,000 people to be in the room, to spend 30 minutes with you, to learn about everything you do, and for a couple dozen of them not to buy from you. For a couple dozen of them not to buy from you would be hard to not happen. So by me getting in front of Noah's audience and simply writing a blog post explaining what I did and him showing it to them, that was the equivalent. 331 of those 15,000 people that heard me share with them what I had done, just simply recounting and teaching them what I had done, wound up buying from me. Every time revenue has gone up, every time we've had an inflection point of revenue in our business and growth tools, it's been a result of borrowing someone else's audience, not building our own, getting in front of another audience. Now, the cool part is, an accidental side effect of that is, our audience grows as well. We get in front of Noah's audience, HubSpot's audience, ConvertKit's audience, Smart Passive Income's audience. Here's the big idea I want to teach you today. Borrowing other people's audiences is the simple and quickest way to reach consistent revenue in your coaching business. And there are dozens, hundreds of audiences that will gladly do this for you. I'm going to walk you through why that is, how to find them, what to say to them, and what to do once you get in front of them today. So before we do that, I want to zoom out for a second, explain to you, I do this almost every week, just so you understand why I'm even sharing this. Our flywheel, the way the engine of the growth tools business runs. Remember, we're a coaching company that makes it almost impossible for you to fail to grow in your business. People hire us, we give them plans, we give them our playbooks, our repeatable systems, and make it almost impossible for them to fail to grow in their business. To do that, there's 4 major steps we have to do. We have to solve our own growth problems ourselves. Then we give the solutions to you. Your business grows as a result, and then you tell your friends. So you come to Shop Talk today, I'll walk you through BOPA. You do it, your business grows, you tell your friends to come watch Shop Talk. Same thing works with our clients. They hire us, we give them our playbooks, their business grows, they tell their friends. So everything in our business is predicated on us experimenting to solve our own problems and then giving you the solution. So today, I'm going to give you one of the best solutions we've ever found in 9 years of experimenting with different marketing strategies and trying to grow a coaching course and software businesses. So, question to you, everyone in chat, is your revenue in your business right now predictable, stable, and growing? And you could rate this yes or no. Maybe go scale of 1 to 10. 10 being really good, it's super predictable, super stable, and it's growing at the pace I want it to. And a 1 is no, it's terrible. So scale of 1 to 10, put in chat right now, where are you at on the scale? Because this is going to help you in all 3 areas. So I want to get an idea, just kind of how you're feeling, do a quick analysis of your own business to get an idea of how you're doing right now. All right, Mark with a 3. Yeah. Jennifer, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here today. It's fun to share. Desiree, actually the scale started 1 to 10. Desiree got it as 0. All right, so this will be helpful. Good. So everybody, as you're watching this, think through your business. How predictable is the revenue? How stable is the revenue? And how much is it growing? 1, Academy Institute, lose 2, Jason 0, Laura, what's up, Laura? Good to see you. 3. Jeff 6, good. Kyle 6.
Yep.
Up 2 deals 7. Jennifer, no. All right. Academy of Insurance 0. Good. All right.
That's a good one. Thank you for email blasts. Yeah. Interesting. Glad everyone's here.
Luis 532. Oh, good. Graded all 3 of them. Nice. Okay. So what I'm going to teach you today, think about the way customers happen in your business. There's 3 major steps that have to happen. You have to get their eyeballs. They have to know you exist. Then you have to have their heart. They have to trust you. After that, monetization is fairly straightforward. You just need to put a good offer that solves a pain for them in front of them. If you do that, that part's easy. You could have eyeballs, hearts, and then wallets. Attract quality leads, build trust with those leads, and then you can monetize them. The nice thing about the strategy I'm going to walk you through today does all 3 of those. They do the first 2 in every instances, and most instances they do the monetization as well. There's a few little nuances around this I'll walk you through today. If you need to attract eyeballs, this works. If you need to build trust, this works almost immediately. If you need to monetize, there's simple ways to modify this and to add parts onto it that'll monetize it as well. It's the quickest full cycle sales system I've ever seen. I mean, compared to ads, compared to SEO, compared to word of mouth, all those things are great, have their place. BOPA, borrowing other people's audiences, is the most efficient way to do all three of these things almost simultaneously that I've ever seen. You be the judge as we go through today, and at the end, you tell me what would be more faster and more effective if you're trying to grow sustainable, predictable revenue in your coaching business. All right, so 2 parts today I'm going to walk you through. Part number 1, I'm going to walk you through what this is. Part number 2, I'm going to walk you through the 3 steps to finding the people that will promote your business. So the core thing I'm going to teach you today is how to identify the companies and influencers that will gladly promote you to their audience. This is going to be called your Dream 50 list. The Dream 50 people that, like, if you woke up tomorrow and these 50 companies and influencers had emailed their list, had published a YouTube video, had tweeted out or Instagram storied out saying, hey, Sandy and Louis' product is amazing. Here's a link. You must go buy it right now. Like, you would just fall over and your business would grow exponentially. Like, who are those people? By the way, let's pause 1 second. Who is that person for you? Who is one company or influencer that you would like be over the moon excited about, and your business would undeniably grow immediately if they promoted you to their audience? Who's that person? Think about it real quick. Take 10 seconds, write their name down in chat, and press enter. Because by the end,
you're going pie in the sky.
What's that?
Pie in the sky on this one?
Let's go 1 notch below pie in the sky. Not Oprah. Go like 2 notches below Oprah. Yeah, we know all if Oprah or Joe Biden or Joe Rogan promoted you, you would grow. Go a notch below that. And there's ways you can get in front of all those people. You can have those people all promote you, by the way. Those aren't out of bounds, but let's not start there. Let's start like in the realm of just above reasonable. Good. Gloria said Mike Dooley. I'm not familiar with Mike, but I like having a specific name. Kyle, Alex Ramosi. Who else? You're here to learn how to get other audiences to promote you. Who do you want? If by the end of this episode, you could be guaranteed that person will promote you, who is it? Who's the person? If you don't know, be thinking. As soon as you think of them, put them in chat and press enter. So I'm going to show you how to build your Dream 50. This is the Dream 50 people that you would die to have promote you. And you might be able to rattle off 3 or 4, but you'll get stuck pretty quickly. So I'm going to show you how to find more people who would gladly promote you to their audience. Rosemary Gladstar, Laura said. Good. So this is the actual Dream 50 spreadsheet, by the way. This is one we put together for a client a couple months ago. So literally, it's a spreadsheet with names and contact information, and there's a few other fields over to the right that you can't see through the screenshot. By the way, this is the number 1 strategy that we've used over the last 9 years to grow our company. Since using this strategy, we've had 34 straight 6-figure sales months since making our first Dream 50. And last year, when the last Inc. 5000 list came out, we were the 2,216th fastest growing company overall in the entire country, in the top 50 coaching programs in the entire country in growth rate. And the number 1, the biggest rock that we've pushed forward on this to generate leads, that generated trust, that led to simple monetization, was making a Dream 50. Identifying the 50 people most likely to promote us to their audience and optimizing the business around that. So let me share a few quick case studies that aren't me, just so you can like prime the brain on what this would actually look like. Nick True is a coaching client of ours. Nick taught a 30-minute lesson via a webinar to another person's audience. They promoted that to thousands of people that were there to watch that webinar. And Nick teaches like personal finance stuff. As a result of that, Nick sold $10,425 of his coaching service to that audience. One more example. This is what Nick said. What's nice is now I do nothing on the lead side. Doesn't have to generate new leads. They come in automatically. He just sends us $1,000 to $2,000 of coaching every month, and hopefully more as his membership site grows. One more example. Zahara Jade. Zahara taught a 30-minute lesson via webinar to a small community in her industry. Thousands of people from that partner's audience watched it. The partner promoted it to their audience. She's just teaching them. And as a result, she picked up 8 new clients and increased her monthly revenue by $2,540. This is what Zahara said. My partnership wins are astounding and abundant. The business just keeps expanding and it feels very powerful. All of this starts with you identifying the people that would promote you. There's a bunch of people that won't promote you. There's a bunch of people that no matter what you say, they're not going to do anything. So how do we find the 50 people that are looking for you already? So we're going to walk through that. Few reasons why this strategy works so well. Number 1, It's like shooting fish in a barrel versus free diving. So think about it. Like you could go try to build your own audience from scratch. That's a really bad idea, by the way. It's really hard, takes a lot of effort, and tons of people fell at it. The success rates are just low. Or, so you could try to build it from scratch. You're going to jump into the ocean and try to find fish. Great. Or you could go to an aquarium. That's a lot easier. Somebody else has already assembled your best fit clients in a group. There's thousands of them in that audience already. What if you could just have that audience owner promote you to it? There's an Instagram account with 7,000 people following it that would be best fit clients for you. There's a Facebook group with 100,000 people in it that are reading it every day. We just need to get you in front of them. Now, we'll show the mechanics of how to get you in front of them, but think of the difference of trying to gather your own audience versus just going to established audiences and simply presenting in front of them. That's one reason this works. Reason number two is an instant transfer of trust. I'm going to move my face because I'm good at putting my face right in front of the slides. Think about Dr. Phil. We'll talk about him a little more in depth in a minute. Dr. Phil got his start by going on Oprah. Oprah already has millions of people watching her. Dr. Phil goes on, instant transfer of trust. Nobody knows Dr. Phil, but after one interview with Oprah, millions of people trust Dr. Phil. Reason number three, biggest reason, you focus on the thing you actually like doing, helping people versus becoming an expert marketer. You simply teach in front of people, and as a result, your leads grow, your trust grows, and the monetization is simply standing with your folding table at the door as they leave and show them your offer and they buy. That's overview. Number two, let's talk about 3 keys to put this into action. Key number 1, there's 2 important reasons that you must understand that influencers and companies understand why they would actually want to promote you. So I'm going to walk you through the two different reasons they would want to promote you. So you might have 3 people on your email list or nobody in your audience. You started yesterday, or maybe you have 5,000 people. You're like, well, but I want to get in front of the guy with 2 million people on his list. Why would he promote me? I'll walk you through the 2 reasons. Key number 2 is, how do you find the 50 people? The 50 audiences itching to hear about you, itching to hear your story, itching to hear about your offer. And key number 3, I'm going to walk you through a simple 3-part outreach email that turns your Dream 50 into actual real life promotions that send you leads and send you customers. So let's walk through each of those 3 things. First of all, a story. My wife and I, Stacy, go on date nights almost every week. This is her on the left. And recently we're on a date night. We're in our Chrysler Pacifica minivan because we have 3 small kids, and we're driving down the road. And like we do on most date nights, I haven't put a plan together. So I ask her, what do you want to do? And for some reason on most date nights, we wind up at Barnes & Noble, the bookstore here in town. So we go and eat some dinner. We wind up at Barnes & Noble after the fact. And I'm just kind of scrolling through the different books, looking at anything that catches my eye. And I come across this book. And my jaw drops. I'm like utterly dumbfounded at this book. You have an overweight psychologist with a cookbook about losing weight. And I'm just like literally confused about what's going on. I go to Stacey, you got to see this book. I show her the book, and it's the Dr. Phil cookbook. And I have no idea what's going on here. I don't understand what's happening. And then it dawns on me. I had a lingering question in my mind going back years as to why Noah's blog post grew the business so much. Like, what was it about? How could I replicate that success of the time where the business was it hadn't even got off the ground yet. I'd made a course, no one had bought it. And then something happened. And as a result of that, the business grew. What was happening there? How could I replicate that success? When I saw this book, it immediately came rushing to mind. The only reason this book made sense was this. See, Dr. Phil was a nobody. Nobody knew about him. You might feel the same way right now. You might have an awesome offer. Maybe you have some customers. Maybe you don't have customers. Maybe your business is doing millions of dollars a year and you still feel that way. There's always people ahead of you. The way Dr. Phil got his start was going on Oprah Winfrey's show. Dr. Phil was a psychologist that not many people knew about. He goes on Oprah's show. Millions of people know about him now. Millions of people trust him now. And his entire business was launched as a result of that. And this isn't the only time Oprah's done that, by the way. She did the same thing for Robert Kiyosaki. Anybody heard of him before? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Super popular dude. He got his start on Oprah Winfrey's show. This is a Facebook post he made 5 years ago. I'll never forget the day Oprah made me $5 million. And he goes on to tell the story about how he was a nobody. He went on a popular audience and became a somebody. And now everybody knows his name. Oprah's done this with 12 different people. Rachel Ray, Susie Orman, Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, on and on and on and on. It's called the Oprah effect. It has a name to it, but it isn't unique to Oprah. The underlying mechanics of what's going on is Oprah has an established audience. Someone else comes into that audience and all of a sudden they get the leads, they get the eyeballs, they get the hearts, And getting the wildest is the easy part. Once you have the eyeballs and hearts, getting them to buy from you is super simple. I had discovered a fundamental marketing truth that borrowing other people's audiences isn't about paying them. It isn't about being a big name. It's simply about having content that they need. It's filling a gap that they have. It's telling your story, providing your experience to their audience. Because Oprah is great. Tons of people know Oprah. What Oprah wasn't was a personal relationship expert. But guess what? Dr. Phil is. As a result, Dr. Phil gets to come into that audience, teach his thing, and become a household name now that has like one of the longest running shows on TV as a result of that. So think about it like speaking at a conference. You aren't invited there to speak because you're paying them typically. You aren't invited there to speak because you're a gigantic name, unless you are a gigantic name, but most of the people that speak at conferences aren't that. You're invited there to speak because you have a unique set of experience and teachings that audience needs to know about. If you're a conference organizer, you're trying to find people that can fill your content gaps. You need to teach these group of people that are paid to be at your conference and have good talks. Like, that's why you're there. Now, you probably aren't going on Oprah anytime, so you might have no desire to speak in front of a crowd of people. But what do you like to do? Do you like to write? Great. Do guest blog posts, and that's what I don't know is. Do you like to talk? Great. Go do podcast interviews. Do you like to teach and train like I'm doing now? Great. Go do Facebook Lives and go do YouTube Lives with people. Like, get in front of other people's audiences. So the big takeaway from me, from this realization, from struggling to sell my course to all of a sudden being promoted accidentally to an audience of tens of thousands of people and getting 331 clients, to then having this realization that, man, this is like how almost everyone gets their start. It isn't from spending a ton of amount on ads. It isn't from getting picked. It's from finding these audiences and borrowing them, getting in front of them by simply teaching them. I could go on nearly any podcast by just sharing my story. I could get in front of nearly any YouTuber by simply sharing my story. I could get on nearly any stage by telling my story. And those are hundreds, if not thousands of people who are eagerly anticipating, eagerly need the thing that you're sharing. Big audiences are actively looking for you, not because you're popular, not because you're paying them. They need you for your content. How many of you, give me a hand raise in chat, give me a yes or no in chat, do you have a unique experience or learning that you could share with another audience? You have something to share, something to teach them. Do you have a particular methodology of leadership you found, a particular design methodology, a particular way of parenting or whatever? Like, if you have a product, you do, by the way, because that's the thing you sell. Do you have a training, a teaching, a learning that you can share with another audience? Yes or no in chat. By the way, while you're sharing that, this isn't something you have to work hard to find. These people are actively looking for you. I just went and spent a little time Googling around for people actively looking for people to come share. This is a post looking for guests for my live podcast starting next Tuesday. Oh, the slides are weird here. Here we go. We're still looking for more episodes for the Rise Above Summit. They're looking for people to share. What is going on here? Here we go. I think I'm hitting the wrong button. Is that coming for you, Ben? I feel like my slides are doing weird things. Looking for podcast guests.
Yeah, now you're going. It keeps repeating. The infinite loop.
Yeah, oh, here we go. All right. So anyway, you get the point. I don't know. Google Slides is being weird on me here. So there's two reasons that the top companies and influencers in your niche will promote you. Number one, content. You literally provide them content. It's what Dr. Phil did. It's what I did for Noah. And it's what nearly every client we've ever worked with has done. Do podcast interviews. There's all kind of methodologies and ways this can look in real life. The reason they want to promote you is you have unique content and they need it. Reason number two is commissions. You pay them. Now, let me give you a quick example of this. We're not going to go in depth on this. A ConvertKit, a service most of y'all know, it's an email service, grew from $30,000 a month in annual revenue. I don't know, was that a couple grand a month to $6.69 million a year in annual revenue by doing 120 partnerships in 1 year. 120 times they did a live training in front of someone else's audience in 12 months. They bootstrapped their growth by simply getting in front of audience after audience after audience after audience after audience. They didn't try to buy ads. They didn't try to build their audience. They got in front of pre-assembled audiences and simply taught them how to do email marketing effectively. Is this making sense, Ben? How are we doing over there? We're about to go to key number 2, but let me stop before we do.
So I've seen you teach this before. I had not seen the ConvertKit numbers. That's an expensive thing to do with ads or pretty much any other thing. I'm just doing a little bit of math in my head. That's way harder than doing
120. It was 120 something. They did 120 partner webinars in 1 year. Grew from 30K of annual revenue to $6.69 million revenue. It's still their number one thing. So the way that worked is they would teach a thing, and at the end, the person promoting it, like Pat Flynn is one of the number one affiliates is what you would call them in that world. And when the person on the webinar buys, they get a small commission on it. So Pat gets to make money. That's where it's a commission partnership. ConvertKit pays Pat a commission for every sale he makes and ongoing. And you can do that. It's great. You can provide content for free, which is primarily what we've done in partnerships, or you can provide them a reason to promote you by paying them a commission on selling your product. So like if you have a coaching program that's $5,000 for every person they bring in, you can pay them $1,000. Pay them $500. You can structure that lots of ways. Does that make sense? Any questions in chat that have come up as we talk through this?
That's checking out. Laura Guthrie is applying for conferences, which is exciting. Getting through to Oprah is tough. I had the realization that if Dr. Phil can sell a cookbook on weight loss with enough trust, you can sell anything to anybody. So behave ethically.
We had a client on yesterday. We had a hot seat with clients yesterday, and client Deshelle. We were just simply asking her grow. She wants to grow faster, and we're kind of walking through what she's done and kind of diagnosing with their mastermind group. And somebody asked her, like, what's worked the best in the past for you? She's like, honestly, the thing that's worked the best for me is just being at conferences. But great. How can you do like 20 times more conferences than you've done in the past? And eventually your own personal bandwidth outstrips. You need to bring somebody in to do that. But that was her. So their plan is like, do more conferences. It's an in-person event. People are pre-assembled, specifically interested in the thing that you're helping them with, and they've paid money to be there. Like, you can't ask for a better group than that. Cool. All right, let's kick to key number 2. Finding 50 audiences itching to hear about your offer and buy from you. So let's walk through, like, literally how do you find these people? So when looking for partners, when looking for people to borrow audiences of, there's 3 things to keep in mind. Number 1, you want to avoid direct competitors. If you are a SEO agency, looking for other SEO agencies to promote you will not work. They're not going to do that. You're literally direct competitors. So don't look at direct competitors. Number 2, avoid unrelated audiences. If there's zero overlap between your product you're selling and the product they're selling, then the audiences associated with those, like, don't do that. There's nobody in the audience that would help you. If you're a wealth management agency and you're focused on Twitch gamers, like that are 12-year-old boys playing Fortnite, and you do wealth management services, there's just no overlap in those audiences at all. Like, it doesn't make sense at all. So avoid direct competitors, avoid unrelated audiences. Instead, focus on finding related but non-competitive industries. You have lots of overlap in the audience. So if you're selling wealth management services, you might not get another wealth management company to promote you, but you might find there's a software that's being used. You might find something like Betterment. It's an automated management service kind of thing where a lot of people that have wealth use it. So you might be able to do a webinar where you teach specific wealth building strategies. You have lots of overlap, but you're not direct competitors to them. We'll give some examples as we go. So find companies that are related but non-competitive. So to do that, you need to answer 4 questions. They're very simple. Question number 1 is, what problem do you solve? What problem do you solve? So as we go through this, I've prepped some slides just to kind of visualize this for you. I'm going to go through with the example of a marriage counselor. So the problem a marriage counselor solves is having bad marriages. They're trying to solve that problem. Second question, first question, what problem do you solve? Write it down. Put it in chat. What problem do you solve as a company? That should be a very easy answer. If you don't have a very easy answer, pause and go figure out the answer to that question. Number 2, what causes that problem? So just what's the top 5 list of things, top 3 list of things that causes bad marriages, or in your case, whatever your problem is. So for bad marriages, it could be any number of things. Some that I brainstormed: past traumas, bad parenting, communication issues. I don't know. Those are 3 things that potentially can cause a bad marriage. Write them down. Question number 1, what problem do you solve? Question 2, what causes the problem? Question 3, what comes as a result of that problem? So if you have a bad marriage, how does that manifest itself in regular life? What would that look like for a person in the middle of a really bad marriage? Again, just brainstorm. These should be very easy answers. Don't overthink these. You have a lot of stress. Maybe your finances are a mess. You're just unhappy. What problem do you solve? What causes the problem? What results from the problem? Those are your first 3 questions. Question number 4, brainstorm question. Do any of these stick out as related but non-competitive industries? So I just highlighted a few. Competitive or non-competitive but related: trauma, parenting, finance. Like, I don't know, those could be 3 like industries where products would exist or audiences would be assembled that I'm not directly competing. None of them are even teaching marriage stuff at all. But people that are married could be in trauma groups, because a lot of it results from that, or that's the root cause. They could be in parenting groups. They could be in different audiences related to finance and whatnot. Like people in finance groups probably are married. People in parenting groups, probably a lot of them married. Not all of them. People in trauma groups probably married. I could see that. So my next question I'm looking for is I want to find some honey holes. I want to find specific areas my people are hanging out. 3 groups that I like looking at the most are podcasts, blogs, and Facebook groups. This isn't it. There's dozens and dozens, but for the sake of brainstorming and walking you through this exercise, I want you to pare our thinking down to podcasts, blogs, and Facebook groups. And now I just want to mix and match these industries I found that are non-competitive but related, and the honey holes. So, for example, let's give a practical example. Remember, I'm solving bad marriages. I have a marriage course, maybe. And I want to take a honey hole podcast and mix it with one of the non-competitive but related industries, trauma. Trauma podcast. What could I find? If I just went to iTunes and Googled and searched trauma podcast, are there some? Yes, there's a lot of them. Therapy Chat, Empty Inside, Get Yourself Back. Those are 3 trauma podcasts. So imagine you're a marriage counselor. You have a marriage course you want to sell. You need eyeballs, hearts, and monetization. You need to be able to sell it to them. And you go to Therapy Chat that has 100,000 people listen to every episode, and you pitch the owner of it. You're like, hey, one of the number one causes of bad marriages is one of the number one results from having trauma is having bad marriages, and you just can't get on the same page. I'd love to come on and talk about 3 tips to have a better marriage from solving your trauma. They would have you on because that's a good episode. Hundreds of thousands of people would listen. 75% of them have marriages and are there, and most of those people would love it to be better. These are prime people to buy your product. Non-competitive, but related. Let's go to another example. Finance was a related industry. Blogs are a good honey hole. Are there finance blogs? There's tons of them. Bigger Pockets, Seed Time, again and again and again. Could you write a blog post for the Seed Time blog, for the Bigger Pocket blog that talked about how to get on the 3 tips to get on the same page with your spouse about finances and stop having money fights? Totally. Would they email it to their list? Totally. Would you get the 15,000 views and 331 sales of your product as a result of that? Maybe. I'm not guaranteeing results. You just have to do this some. But that's what happened with me accidentally. I wrote one article for one site, 15,000 views, 331 courses sold. Let's do one more example. Parenting. Bad parenting or parenting groups maybe you're on both sides of the cause and effect of having a bad marriage. Parenting might be super stressful, and bad parenting of me, like my parents not doing a great job, might have caused me to have a bad marriage because I picked up all kind of weird habits and hangups and whatnot. So parenting groups, could I go on Facebook and search for parenting Facebook groups and find some that would be related? I found 5 parenting tips with 58,000 members, mindful parenting, 2.7 thousand members, 38,000 members, and the parents of children with lots of acronyms, which are some probably chronic disease of some sort. The Child Development and Parenting Tips group, 5.3 thousand members. Could you go in that group, do a Facebook Live and coordinate with the owner of that and get in front of 68,000 parents of kids and teach them like how to, the 3 tips for having a great marriage in the face of challenging parenting problems? That's a bad title, but you get the point. You mix your topic with their topic in front of the group. The key is this. The key is looking for non-competitive places your best fit client already hangs out online, who's already assembled the tribe, who's already assembled the audience, and get in front of them and teach them. Teach them with a podcast episode and simply share your experience. Teach them with a blog post, simply showing them the 100 ways to get the method for getting 100 email subscribers, your version of that. Can you teach them in front of a Facebook Live type of audience? You pick the one you like. If you like writing, write. If you like talking, do a podcast interview. If you love teaching, go do a workshop in front of the group. You just get to pick. You don't have to be on camera. You don't have to write. I've kind of alternated between liking writing, not liking it. Pick the one you want. The key is looking for non-competitive places your best fit client already hangs out online. All right, Ben, let's pause for a second. I've been talking a minute. How we doing? Questions that have popped up from that?
So the chat is just resonating a lot with what you're saying. I think go where the eyeballs already are makes a lot of sense. I know you've got one story about this. I think I heard this about Burger King a few years ago, where they don't do any market research on where to buy their real estate or put their restaurants. They just look at where McDonald's goes and tries to go across the street.
Yeah. Hey, notice the company, the store, the businesses that are around Walmarts, tire shops, and Waffle Houses. And literally, they just get in front of, like, Walmart has the traffic, hundreds of thousands of people going through there every year. They just put their stuff right in front of it. Burger King puts it right across the street from McDonald's. They know they've done their market research and they get it. Now that's maybe a bad way to overcome McDonald's by your direct copying your direct competitors. You probably need a better strategy, but the same principle applies with Walmart's with non-competitive industries, tire shops and Waffle Houses and these little restaurants like the nail salon and whatnot are all around there. Yeah, same basic concept. Very good. All right, let's go to key number 3. We're a little late, so I'm gonna speed through or give you kind of the cliff notes of key number 3. So once you understand the reason these top companies and influencers want to promote you, content and commissions, those are the 2 reasons. Once you know how to find them, the key to finding them, remember, is finding these non-competitive places your best fit client already hangs out. And I'll give you the 4 questions to find that out. What's the problem you solve? What causes it? What results from it? And now looking at that group, what are some non-competitive but related industries? And you can just mix and match the honey holes with those and easily find hundreds of these, like in an afternoon. That's not the hard part. Key number 3 is a key piece of the process. Once you've found your people, it's not Oprah, it's not Tony Robbins. That's not going to be on your list to begin with unless you're like really advanced in business. You can get to those people, but not to start with. But you found 27 Facebook groups, you found 32 podcasts, and you found 26 blogs that you could write, you could speak, you could train in front of. And they're all non-competitive but related industries. They've already assembled. You count the audience sizes of all those groups and you got 17 million people in those audiences. How do you get in front of them? What do you say? This is the key. So we're not going to do an extensive training on pitching. I'm going to give you the kind of the highlight. And maybe, Ben, we can do a Shop Talk episode specifically on pitching. This is my single most effective how to write an email that people respond to framework I've ever seen and ever tested, and I've tried lots of them. 3 parts to writing an amazing outreach email to get that partner to promote you. You have to have 3 things. First, you have to prove you're not a weirdo. These people get lots of emails and lots of outreaches. You have to stand out immediately by proving you're not a weirdo on the internet. 3/4 of your email should be that. Not talking about you, not talking about the thing you want them to do, but proving you aren't a weirdo. I'll give you one example of this in a second. I'm going to go to a before and after, a terrible outreach email I got and a rewrite I did of the email of what I would have said yes to. But this is the architect. This is the kind of the structure of it. Prove you aren't a weirdo. That's called an anchor. Number 2, state the win for them. Show them the content gap. In this case, like if you're doing for a content partnership, show them how their competitor has talked about that topic. The trauma podcast. The 3 top trauma podcasts have all had 17 episodes on marriage, but they've had none. But they've had 1. And 27 comments you found on their episodes show that people want it. You just haven't talked about it. Show them the gap. Show them the content gap you can fill. That's 2. The win for them. Lastly, make it easy for them to say yes. A clear ask. I can't tell you how many outreach emails I've got that literally don't have a question mark in them. What do you want me to do? You've just said lots of things. I don't know what you want me to do. 3 parts of an amazing outreach email. Prove you aren't a weirdo. Show them the content gap. Make it easy to say yes. Now, pause for a second. With all of our clients, we require that the first 10 pitches they write, we personally review and give them feedback on, and we ask them to send all of them to us so we can give them feedback on it. So this is not like an inherent trait that some people have and some people don't. You have to train for this, understand how to do this well. This is a whole shop talk of its own, so I'm not going to go in depth, but I do want to example this one way. I want to show you a terrible outreach email, and I rewrote the email using this framework. So you can see this in action one time. And again, we'll spend some time and do a longer version of this at some point. So imagine, wave your magic wand. You have a spreadsheet with your 100, your dream 50, your dream 1000 on it. You've done your research. You've taken an hour or 2. You've written them down. Now, what do you say? Imagine you wrote this email. This is an email somebody wrote me. I should probably blur out some of this information. Anyway, he said this. Hey, Brian, I've come across several awesome products you run. Video Fruit, which was the old name of the company, by the way. We changed it a few years ago. And Growth Tools. And I wanted to connect. We work with a ton of startups and entrepreneurs. Perhaps we can collaborate in some capacity. Free to hop on a call next week? Okay, so it should pass a test. It should prove he's not a weirdo. Show me the reason. Show me the win for me. And then make it easy to say yes. So did he prove he wasn't a weirdo? Well, I came across several awesome products you run, and then he named the company with the 2 different names it's had, and he misspelled one of them. Video Fruit's one word, not capitalized. So like, I don't know. He's not really efforting to prove he's not a weirdo. He's worked with a ton of startups. I guess this is social proof. Like, I don't know. Like, not very strong at all. The second thing you should do, so I would grade his anchor on a scale of 1 to 10 like a 2. Maybe a 3. We'll give it a 3 out of 10. The win for me. Is there a win for me here? We work with a lot of startups. Perhaps we can collaborate in some capacity. I have no idea what the win for me is. He literally just didn't state what I get out of this. We're going to collaborate some kind of way. I don't know what that means. And lastly, did he make it easy for me to say yes? Now, we'll give him credit. He did ask a question. Are you free to hop on a call next week? Now, the problem is hopping on a call is the biggest ask you could ask of somebody that has an audience. That's a huge time commitment for a thing. I don't know what the win for me is, and I don't know if you're a weirdo or not. I have no proof that you're like a person, like a real thing. It's somebody I'd want to spend time with at all. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 2 pitch. I didn't even respond to it. Now, I do think it's interesting to say, what would he have had to say for me to respond to it? So let me show you this. I'm just going to read this email. I rewrote his pitch using Anchor when asked. So if you just send this pitch to me, subject line, lawyer. That's a good subject line. You open up that email every time. Hey, Brian, I've recently come across, notice, 3/4 of this email is the anchor. It's proven he's not a weirdo. And there's several tactics here. We won't take the time to unpack them, but like, just notice what's happening in this email. I've recently come across several of your growth tools, and I wanted to say, great work. Anchor number 1. Attract.io was how I discovered you. I've subscribed to Pat Flynn's newsletter and saw it mentioned there. Thanks so much for taking the time to create such a useful tool and giving it away for free. Here's where Pat linked to it. Screenshot. Last week, after discovering Attract, I spent 15 minutes to create my own lead magnet using it. It looks so much better than the other lead magnets I've created. I look forward to getting it set up on my site and trying out the Welcomely Style homepage and to get my conversions up. Here's a link where you can check out the lead magnet that I created. He just used 8 different anchors. We won't take the time to unpack them. 8 different things he did to anchor and prove he's not a weirdo, most of which were flattery and showing he's using it and referencing a third party. Let's keep reading. Anyhow, thank you for what you do. Oh, there's number 9. Thank you for what you do. I'm looking forward to seeing other tools you come up with in 2019. Now, the win. I'm a lawyer based in San Francisco, and we work with a lot of startups, people like Trello, Pat Flynn, Michael Hyatt, and Airbnb. I would love to do a 30-minute presentation in the Drip Scripts community where I talk about how to do email marketing without breaking the law. This is something I've noticed quite a few people in the group asking about. Screenshot a member. That's the ask. That's the win for me. People are asking for it. He showed the gap. People are asking for it. We haven't done it. He had a little bit of social proof. Would you be interested in that? I hit reply and say yes to that immediately. And then he can say, hey, let's schedule the call for next week. Here's 3 times when one of these work for you to figure out the date of the presentation. Yes, immediately. Because he spent 3/4 of the email proving he wasn't a weirdo. He made the ask, the win for me, clear, showed the content gap, and it had a very simple ask. That's a good pitch. That pitch gets answered every single time. And then my favorite part of teaching this publicly is every time I start teaching this publicly again, I start getting pitched this way. And I say yes every time because they're so good. They're like just great pitches. So Ben, maybe the next Shop Talk episode should just be on pitching. How do you pitch people? Specifically for partnerships, but this goes to anything. This applies to nearly anything you want someone to do. If you want a spouse to do something, if you want to get somebody to buy a contract, whatever. Like this framework works extremely well.
Oh, definitely. Put in the chat, guys, would you want to just do a deep dive into pitches next week? Laura already said that yes. So
this is how, by the way, this pitch framework, at least the origin point of it was how I quit my job. Like I got several $3,000 a month contracted doing video production work for people by sending them a pitch just like this. So you can use it to get freelance work. You can use it to get partnerships. You can use it in lots of different ways. We've used it to get refunds and get people's attention at bigger companies for like personal stuff. So you can use it all kind of different ways. The framework works extremely well. Cool. All right, so let's go to a few pro tips before we end. Number 1, the big domino here to get BOPA to work, to borrow other people's audiences, is your volume of pitches. If you want to see progress quickly, average 10 pitches a week for 90 days. I have never, ever, in 9 years of teaching this and doing it, ever seen anyone not grow substantially and quickly if they had a high cadence of pitches on a weekly basis. Sustain it no matter what happens as a result of the pitches. Keep sending 10 a week for 90 days straight. You will see massive results from this. That's the big domino. It's not finding people. That part's easy. As you go do it, you'll see it. Pro tip number 2. Don't go after the whales on day 1. Don't put Oprah as the first person you email. She will not respond to you yet. You have to have specific tailored strategies for those top 1.1% people. Save them for later. Pro tip number 3. Have a variety of people in your Dream 50 on your first pass. Don't hyper-index on one type of person. Don't have just mom bloggers. Don't have just, design YouTubers. Have a variety of industries you're targeting and a variety of mediums you're targeting. Not just podcasts, not just bloggers, not just Facebook groups. Have a variety of industries and mediums you're targeting to begin with. By the way, we'll put a link to this in chat. We interviewed a Kytra who was a client of ours. She hired us to help us with this specific strategy. She grew her course and design studio from $0 in revenue to $100,000 in revenue in 1 year. And this is what she did. Exactly what I've just taught you. If you want to see this in action, we'll drop a link in chat. Ben, the link is in, you can Google it or it's in the slide, the slide description or whatever. You can grab that and put it in. Go check it out. We'll also include this in the VIP notes. Here's the big idea today. Borrowing other people's audiences is the quickest way and simplest way to reach consistent revenue in your coaching business. And there's dozens of people that would gladly do that for you over the next 30 days. You just simply need to identify them and send them an email that gets them to say yes. Those are the two big levers. By the way, if you want the resources, we got a couple resources for you. We got the pitch template and a few examples. We got a Dream 50 Google Sheet that will allow you to put all these people in and rank them on a few factors. If you're a VIP, you'll get this tomorrow morning. If you're not a VIP, scan the little QR code or send a text to 615-903-8108. We'll put you on the VIP list and you'll get that a text message from us tomorrow morning with that information. You'll get a link to the replay so you can watch this at a slower pace if you need. You'll also get a Dream 50 Google Sheet and a pitch template, a few examples of good pitches and bad pitches along with that anchor when asked template so you can use this to pitch people and get them to say yes. So scan the QR code thing or send a text to 615-903-8108 and type VIP if you're not a VIP already, and you'll get this. Now, what we do as a company is literally get into the weeds of what I've just taught you for our clients. This is an example. I sat down with the Duncans a few weeks ago. We mapped out their entire marketing strategy for them. One key piece of it is partnerships, like borrowing other people's audiences to get eyeballs, hearts, and then to monetize. So we literally sat down for the day, mapped out their entire marketing system, broke it down to the fundamentals, rebuilt it on the whiteboard, and then created a very specific marketing plan for them over the next 12 months that I'm coaching them through. And they've had great success over the first 90 days. In fact, a month after we met in person and put together their marketing plan and designed their marketing system, this is the message Cody sent us. He said, actually, scratch that. We had one more deposit. This is the end of month recap on their first month. $141,527 of sales in their first month from executing on what we put together in person for that day. This is what we do as a company. We coach you and make it almost impossible for you to fail at growing your business. We design your marketing system for you. We create your one-page marketing plan for you. We even go through your offer, your avatar, and the vision as a company, draft those up for you. Make sure you're inspired by your vision. Make sure your offer truly is irresistible. Make sure you know exactly who your best fit client is so you can put your product in front of them. And we coach you through the execution of that. After our day together, after his first month in the program, this is what Kirk, the owner of that company, said.
Even though our numbers are where they're at, you never balked at it, you never mocked us, you never even made it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. Because we know you work with big people, like really gigantic companies, but you treated us like we are the most important company in this whole entire world. And that really made an impression upon me. And then the actual plan. You nailed it down to the very details and the numbers. And to be able to see the numbers and to see what we need to do, I watched both my wife and my son, as we're all there talking to you, I watched as the light came on inside of us, and it's like, we can do this. And you showed us down to the minute detail what we need to do. That was powerful, because we literally are walking away with knowing what to do. And so that was super cool. And I really appreciate that, because I trust you. I just have to tell you, with everything you did, I built a lot of trust in you, in the fact that you know what you're talking about, you care about what we're doing. And that means a lot to me, because I cannot stand coaches who just go off in the weeds and I walk away and I'm like, I don't know what to do. But with you, it was clear, it was precise, and it's doable. And that was the coolest day ever to spend the day with you. It was awesome.
So if you're interested at all in coaching, we do provide a scholarship to any Shop Talk viewer. If you request more information during Shop Talk, we'll tag you. And when and if you want and are interested in coaching from us, we'll give you a $2,000 scholarship on coaching with us. So if you want to save $2,000 on coaching, request more information today, just scan the QR code or text COACH to 615-903-8108. Alex will follow up with you. He monitors that, literally responds to those with more information and some next steps, learns about you a little bit. And then if it makes sense, we'll jump on a call, talk a little more in depth. But when you scan that QR code and request more information, we tag your account. You get a $2,000 scholarship and save on coaching. So if you're interested in that, be sure to request more information now. A few clients that have had some cool success recently. Joe Bunting wrote in. We've had a few cool wins from Joe in the last few weeks. He said, I made $13,163 in sales from a partner webinar. Exactly what we're teaching you today. Get in front of another partner, get in front of another audience, train on the material, tell them about the product at the end. $13,000 in sales as that, and he does coaching. Andrew said, I got more great feedback and encouragement on my offer and hosted a fantastic guest for my show who wants to introduce me to Bob Berg and get me speaking on more stages in front of other people's audiences. This is Andrew, a coach that we've worked with for a few months. All right, so let's pause for a second. I'm going to click over to Ben. By the way, we're going to give away one more copy of Stop Guessing here in a second. This is the book I mentioned at the very beginning. We're going to give away one copy to the person who guesses which test won. So in the past week or so, we ran 2 different emails in a split test to see which one will get the best click rates. Ben's going to share both emails, and we're going to have a little guessing game to see are your marketing chops good or not. One person who guesses which email won will get a copy of a book called Stop Guessing, which is a little bit ironic, actually. If you guess right, you get a book called Stop Guessing. Anyway, they're totally unrelated topics. So we'll do that in just a second. Before we go into which test won, Ben, I think we had a couple questions. Let's take 3 questions from chat related to boarding other people's audiences, making a dream 50, doing pitches.
Yep. So Kyle had one about how to search for podcasts, like those podcast listing sites that show some of their stats. What are some of the best ones?
So the question is how to find popular podcasts, or how to find what's the question? How to search for podcasts?
Yeah, how to quickly search for ones to reach out to that have a decent following.
Oh yeah, I got a little cheat sheet on this. I couldn't find it before Shop Talk, but a great search criteria to put in Google. Actually, I actually don't go to the podcast database typically, although it's good. You can type in trauma or whatever your keyword is and find stuff there. But an easier place actually is type in top industry podcast year. So like top trauma podcast 2022 in Google, and there's a couple of those. I can't remember their name now. There's a couple of those aggregating sites that do their ranking criteria. Yeah. There's one of them that's really popular. I'm forgetting the name now. You'll see it if you just do a couple of search results like I mentioned. And they actually have like list of 100 of them. And they even have lots of stats like their social media following sizes, how many comments they have, estimated viewerships and things like that. The key number you want to look for is how many comments they have. If the podcast is still current and they have a good number of comments, you know they get a lot of downloads. That's like the number one indicator I found. And also rank, but a lot of these like niche ones like we're talking are like, there's not a specific rating for trauma podcasts. It's like a sub-niche of a sub-niche. So that Google search criteria or that Google syntax of top trauma podcast 2022 is one of the best ways I know of to find those quickly. Podreacher, there you go. That's the one. Yep.
Okay. So we also have Jeremy in the chat who helps evangelical churches grow and has guest blogging opportunities, but can't come up with ideas or is struggling to come up with ideas for like parallel shoulder industries to reach out to.
Can't come up with ideas to write about, or can't find the people.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can't come up with ideas to write about. Already has the guest blogging opportunities.
Well, it would depend on the site. So what you really want to do is mash the two together. Like, what's your topic? What's their topic? So I don't know the other topic, but if it's something really related, then those are pretty easy, actually. The unrelated things are things you have to start getting creative on. I'll tell you what we'll do. Jeanette, I think, is watching this, and we have a little 3-page worksheet to come up with ideas and to do search criteria. Let's just include that in the VIP resources tomorrow, and they can skim through that, and they'll get it really quickly. So we show, like, title ideas of how to, like, top 3 tips. We have a couple, like, 3 different syntax for titles, because no matter whether you're doing a Facebook Live, a podcast episode, or a blog post, the thing you have to pitch them on is a title of the thing. This is the title of my workshop. This is the title of the podcast episode. This is the title of the blog post. Whether they use that one or not doesn't matter, but it frames it up for them. Like in your email even, I suggest doing that. So you need to be able to come up with that title pretty quickly. And that's the mashup thing where you squeeze their idea and your idea together. So like if you're, I don't know, does Jason give us an example? It's a tech website for churches. Oh, there you go. So I need to know a little more information to truly come up with a good one. Like if you're, I don't know what you're doing, what they're doing, and you have to like know that to mash them together. And by the way, this is what we do for clients. We make it nearly impossible for you not to be able to come up with a great idea because we review them all and give feedback on them. But yeah, let's just send the resource out tomorrow. When we do pitches next week, if it makes sense, we might be able to preload some examples so we can like work through a few of those and show you real time.
Cool.
All right, one more question.
Okay. Yeah, one more question is, do you recommend doing all your outreach on email, or does some of this do InMail and LinkedIn, DMs?
So I primarily start with email, and then if after 3 emails, the initial, a bump, and a last call, if they don't respond, I'll change the channel. And I'll just start researching them to figure out where they're hanging out, and then I'll communicate on that channel. So that's the basic approach. Yep. All right, cool. Let's share. All right, which test one? So we're going to give away one more copy of the book. Let me bring Ben camera on here. I'll move us to the top up here so we're kind of out of the way. So every week, I want you to leave with one practical thing you can do in your business. So we've shared a book you can read that'll grow your business. I've shared an extensive training on how to grow your business, specific on getting leads and eyeballs, or getting eyeballs, hearts, and monetizing them. Now I want to share a test that we ran last week. Like, you can take this and nearly one-to-one apply it in your business this week if you send emails at all. So Ben, we sent two different emails. One subject line, please read this. The other one a little bit longer. Walk us through option A, option B, and then we'll provide you a couple of different points. At any point you're confident in guessing, you can guess which one got more clicks, option A or option B, and we'll kind of share what happened.
Yeah, for sure. And that is what we're going for. Which email ultimately got more clicks? So we're not doing open rate or click rate. So it's the open rate and the click rate for total number of clicks. We send it to roughly the same number of people, so you can guess. Mm-hmm. The one on the left is actually swiped from Frank Kern. He did please read this for a webinar invite. So I was like, it probably works. And then the other one is actually last week's Shop Talk invite. So you guys are all my lab rats. So this is how you behaved.
Is this just subject line, by the way, Ben?
Yeah, the only thing that's different is subject line.
All right, cool. Yeah, sweet. I was thinking the emails are different, but they're cool. So it's a good subject line test. Please read this in 5 magic words that boosted high ticket close rates 42%. Reveal number 1. This is interesting. You could guess after this one if you want. 21.8% open rate on please read this. 18.3% open rate on 5 magic words.
Yep. I was surprised by that open rate on please read this, actually. If Kern hadn't done it, I would have never sent that subject line.
Yeah, it's a good subject line. Yeah. Option 2, or stat number 2, 2.2% click-through rate, 3.2% click-through rate on the other one. So option B got less opens but more clicks. And then option A, so overall, if your click-through rate's higher, then you're going to have higher clicks. So option B, the only thing that changed with the subject line, the email's identical. It produced nearly double the clicks, or a little over double, actually. 72 clicks on option A, 162 clicks on option B as a result. So try that subject line out. The syntax, blank, magic, blank, a number, magic words that boosted result by some percentage. Like, you can kind of make your own Mad Lib style fill in the blank of that. Try it out this week. Also try to your list, please read this. That could work. I'm trying to think of how I would adjust please read this, but I mean, I would actually think that subject line would work really well.
What's interesting about this is I think the option B, the intent for opening the email is so much higher. So I think that explains the click-through rate.
Yeah, that's a good point. Please read this. It could be a notification. It almost feels like an announcement or transactional email, not a educational thing. And option B is more congruent maybe with that. So that makes sense. All right. By the way, if you want to get all our swipe file, we add one item to our swipe file every week on Shop Talk. Last week, we shared 2 different ads. We ran $10,000 of ad spend to. Shared which one won. This week, we shared an ad. We've sent out to an email and subject line test. We sent out to hundreds of thousands of people and found like a good definitive result. If you want to get all of that, make sure a VIP tomorrow when you send you the resources, the replay, the Google Sheet, the pitch template. We added another syntax thing, search thing in there as well. We'll also send you our swipe file link. Every week we add another one to it. Make sure you're a VIP on that list. You can text 615-903-8108. Text VIP to that and you'll get on if you're not already, or just scan the QR code and you'll jump on as well. Last thing, if you want to save $2,000 on my coaching, make sure you request more information via this QR code right here. Or text coach to 615-903-8108. Alex will be on the other line. He'll chat with you a little bit, ask you a few questions, send you some more information. If you're ready to progress, if you're ready to talk with us seriously about coaching you, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do the same thing we did with the Duncans. Sit down with you, tear your marketing system down from scratch, rebuild it, create a full-blown marketing plan for you over the next 12 months to hit every goal you have. That's what we do all day, every day, and it's really fun, and we're really good at it. So if you want some help, request more information, use the QR code or text more information. We'll tag your account so that if some point in the future you have coaching, we'll have that $2,000 discount available for you. All right, Ben, anything to say before we go? I think we're at the end today.
Preston Squire is our second book winner. So Preston Squire, email book winner to vip@growthtools.com with your mailing address, and we'll get you the Stop Guessing book.
Good job, Preston. And good job guessing. Good job getting the book Stop Guessing by winning the game about guessing. A little circle of life there. All right. Appreciate y'all. Good time. We went 8 minutes over today. I need to get my shot clock. That's 2 weeks in a row. We've gone over the 1 hour mark. So we'll get it trimmed back down. This was fun. Thank y'all for being here. We'll see you next week.
Sweet. Bye, everybody.